This is Port Motueka. We're in Brothers and the occasional sister joining us today. I hope your day's going really well. Mine's been a bloody cracker. Going to pull over and chew the fat with you. Have a bit of a chin wag. Heaps of people camping down here. What a spot, eh? Chock-a-block. Right, I won't go there because there's too many people. We'll head on down to the wharf. That is the Tallies wharf here in Motueka that was put here by Tallies for public use for recreational fishing. Isn't that bloody good? Bunch of good bastards putting that in there. It's been used by many people. I've caught the occasional kingfish off there but never landed one. As in hooking in one but not landing it. They're so difficult. There's some monsters of fish in there. Ah, this looks like me. A couple of blokes out there having a fish. The island on the other side. And a few people hanging out down here. Get that off. So the brother or the sister that can say where this shirt came from, I'll give you a couple of clues, but can name the company. Actually, I'll give you 3 clues. You want a chocolate fish, okay? So the first clue is that it comes from Australia. Actually, I'll give you 4 clues. First clue, it comes from Australia. Second clue, it's for the workplace, like builders and contractors. Second clue, on the back it says this is a conversation starter. It's in writing on the back there, in big writing. And the third clue, the fourth clue is that, I forgot what that is. Oh yeah, the fourth clue is it's for mental health, raising awareness for mental health. It's a conversation starter, so in the workplace people can talk about mental health, which is a bloody good thing, because every day in New Zealand, a contractor, whether it's a plumber or a builder or electrician, every day one contractor in New Zealand, or worker, or tradie, let's call them tradesmen, because a lot of tradesmen aren't contractors. A tradesman every day in New Zealand takes his life. Think about that. In Australia it's a lot worse. So that's why these shirts were made, and that's why I'm wearing it. So people say to me, and some guys I've banged into a Motueka before, and they go, "Oh, you're pretty colourful today, Clay." And I said, "Yeah." And I told them what it was about. I said it's about raising awareness for men's mental health and how we all have mental health, and to talk about it. I'm blessed that I've got good mental health at this present moment, because our mental health changes all the time, doesn't it? It changes particularly with the relationships with people that we have. I've never ever had a wife. I've never got married. I've come close. I've had 2 women ask me if I would marry them. And by God, I'm glad I said no to both of them. No reflection on them being bad people, just it would never have worked out. One of the things happens when you get into a relationship with somebody to begin with, particularly, and I'm going to talk about when I'm a bit younger than I am now, but it would apply to this age group, to any age group. When you get younger, you have lots of mad, great sex. Look, I'm trying to do a vlog here, Seagull. Trying to do a vlog. So can we just keep it down a bit? Thanks. Good on you, mate. What are you going to come over here? He's gone. He actually listened to me and buggered off. Good one. So I talk to the animals. Oh, he's come back. Maybe I'm in his spot. Anyway, when you get with that person to begin with, it's really good, and you have loads of great sex, and you just have a fantastic time all round, don't you? Everything's good, because you're not pissing each other off at all. You're actually trying to put your best foot forward all the time, and you're laughing at everything she says, and she's laughing at everything you say, and it's lots of fun, isn't it? It's the honeymoon stage, and apparently the honeymoon stage lasts for about 18 months, although I think it's a lot shorter than that for me, but it's the honeymoon stage, and everything's good. And as you get into a relationship, you settle into whether you're going to be together or not, and after that could go on for a couple of years, and often you'll break up before that time because you got past the honeymoon stage. Now, I met this old guy when I was travelling around the top of Shipwreck Bay up in Ahipara, in the top of the North Island. When I was about 18, I was living in a J4 van up there, and I met a guy that lived, and I've told a story about this, he lived in a bus in the side of the hill. I don't know if his bus is still there today, and God knows how the hell they ever got it there. Or there is actually, so I do know how they got it there. There's a story in that in itself. That's a story for another day. Actually, yeah, I found out years later how they got it there. Anyway, regardless, this old hermit lived in this bus, and he invited me up one day. I was coming back with fish. I dropped him some fish off a number of times, and he invited me up to come up and have a whiskey with him. And he made whiskey out of potato peels. He had these potatoes growing in tyres stacked up, and he would make the whiskey from the leftover potato peels from the potatoes that he peeled. He'd keep all his peels and he'd put them in his container and somehow ferment them, and the whiskey was just brutal. But he told me one thing. He told me that he'd only been married once, and she broke his heart, and he'd never ever get married again. And he also told me this. He said, for the first year of your relationship, and I've heard other people say the same thing, but he said for the first year of your relationship, if you stuck a bean in the jar for every day that you made love, your wife made love to you, from that year after that, if you took the bean out every time for the rest of your life married to that woman, you took a bean out of the jar every time you made love, you would never empty the jar. I thought about that and I thought, geez, I don't think I ever want to get married if that's the case. I got a theory on it, and it's only a theory, and that is that people stop making love, people stop having sex because they get pissed off with each other, they get angry with each other, and not in a really all-out anger way. It's more like a sort of a low-grade anger that's sitting there. She's kind of pissed off with him because he's not either laughing at her silly jokes anymore, or he's not listening to her, or he's not understanding her, and she's not feeling like she's cherished, and he might be doing some mistakes, and on the same side, he might be starting to get a bit pissed off with her. She might be either talking too much or going on about things that don't interest him, and he's got this low-grade sort of anger just under the surface, and so naturally you're going to stop wanting to show attention to each other and make love to each other. And it's only a theory, but because I've never been married, I wouldn't know, but I think there's a lot of people that I see, they go out and they seem to be a little bit pissed off with each other sometimes. You hear the way a man talks to his wife, they've been together a few years, and he's not speaking with respect, or she's talking to him in a patronising way sometimes, and there seems to be some contempt there. I've seen it in a lot of relationships, and I thought to myself, God, why would you stay in a relationship like that? And then I've thought about that. Why would you stay in a relationship like that? And I guess the main answer would come down to money. You've probably bought and invested in a house together, and you probably know that if you split up, you're going to have to give half to the other person. And if you're the bloke who's working and she's looking after the kids, you probably feel like you've earned all the money. And if you're the woman that's at home who's doing all the hard work of looking after kids, which is an emotional drain and a job I would never want to do full time, like it's such a drain raising kids compared to doing a 9-to-5 job, she's going to think I'm entitled to all the money and neither going to want to split it up. That's only a theory either, but that would be one reason maybe. The other reason maybe it's just too comfortable and too easy, and it's a sort of security. But if you don't have a burning desire to be with that woman anymore, and she doesn't have a burning desire to be with you, and you're pissed off with each other, then really is it worth half a house staying together? I don't know. I don't think so. I've always got out of relationships when they got... Well, that's actually not quite true. I've hung on to relationships too where the other person's had contempt, and I've felt like maybe I could make this work. But, you know, when they've got contempt, it's over, boys. You're thrashing a dead horse, as I found out too. You're thrashing a dead horse. And the thing, of course, that you're doing is you're cheating yourself from finding the right person. Yeah. Anyway, people do get married and have kids, and the kids come along, the teenagers, and the teenagers, it's so difficult with teenagers, particularly girls and their mums and boys and their dads. I think a lot of girls, like, they know everything and you can't tell them, and sons to some degree too, but for mothers and daughters there's often that conflict where the girl's like, you just don't understand me, you just don't get who I am, and they'll go in their bedroom and slam the door, and then as parents we'll go into the room and we're going to say, hey, it's dinner time, and they'll like, I don't feel like, I'm not hungry, and parents outside and you've made the dinner, and instead of going, okay, don't eat for 3 days, I'll wait till you calm down, and they come out of their room saying I'm hungry, then they might start to relate to you in a normal manner, but you're still trying to soften them and say, oh, come on, eat something, and no, I'm not hungry, so you fret that they didn't eat your food. Of course, it doesn't matter they didn't eat your food because they're not going to die anyway, and finally they come out and they're all angry at God knows what, and then they go back in their room, you don't see them, and this can go on for bloody weeks, even months, even years with some kids, and the parents are wondering, what the hell have I done wrong? Well, it's just bits of their brain sort of dropping off because they're trying to find out who they are, and they're trying to cut you off, and it's a natural thing to do. And what happens is they do all this weird shit, like right now, you've got in schools and that, you've got all these kids identifying as bloody cats or identifying as dogs. There was a thing at, I think it was Waimea College or one of the colleges here, where the principal sent a letter home saying we're no longer going to provide kitty litter for children that identify as cats. So imagine you've got a daughter and she identifies as a cat. Now what's going on there? Well, again, it's rebelling, isn't it? It's rebelling against us, the adults, rebelling against society. I'm going to be completely different. No different to what punk rock was when I was a kid in the 80s. No different to what was actually early 80s, actually might have been late 70s, that. No different to all the rebellion that young people go through, where they're breaking away, breaking the bonds of their parents. So then they move out of their flat and they identify as a cat, and they've got bits of bling hanging out their nose and shit, and they've got emo things hanging off their ears, stretching their ears bigger, and they look all weird to us. They're living in a flat, and suddenly mum and dad aren't there anymore, and suddenly you've got the reality of having to pay their own bills, the reality of having to cook their own food and feed themselves, and then clean the dishes up afterwards, and then do their washing and wash the house and wash the room and wash the windows, and all the things that mum and dad were doing when mum and dad didn't get them and didn't know who they were. Suddenly they really miss mum and dad, and this process normally takes till about between 18 and 25, somewhere between there, and then they start to come back because they realise, hold on a minute, dad was actually right when he said you've got to work hard. Mum was actually right when she came and told me after picking my clothes off the ground and putting it in the washing basket, because I actually have to put it in the washing basket now, put it in the washing machine, and now wash it and then hang it up and do it all myself, and then fold it and put it back in my drawers because mum's not there anymore. Now I suddenly realise how much work mum actually did, and suddenly where we don't know anything, we don't get them, suddenly they start to realise actually they did know some things, and maybe I didn't know everything, and they come back to us. And they come back. They don't come back to all their parents though. There's some parents they don't come back to. And those are the parents that were either, I'm trying to find the right words to really say this as it is. I'm not going to say abusive, because there's a fine line between setting a parameter and being consistent in your boundaries and being brutally violent to your children. My children wouldn't know what a smack is. They never had a smack in their life, but I set really hard boundaries. And there's also things that we do as parents that are bad to our kids. We make mistakes we don't realise. Like one of the mistakes I made with my daughter was I pushed her way too hard when she was doing her running, because she was a really good runner, and also she was a really good musician, and I pushed her way too hard. And I know that now. And when she came back to me later at the age of 19, or it might have been even 18, and said, Dad, you really pushed me really hard, instead of me like saying, well, actually I gave up my 2 years of hunting season to take you around the country for your running to support you, instead of saying it that way, I heard what she said and I validated it, and I said, you know what, I probably did, and I'm really sorry for that. Yeah, I shouldn't have pushed you that hard. Instead of me trying to get my side across, it's really important in this critical stage that we validate our children's concerns or their grievances, and whatever they are. And even if we don't necessarily agree with them, it's really important to actually validate them, because what I've learned about people that I've met in my journey in this life that are fucked up is a lot of the people that I've met that are fucked up have got things that have been done to them harshly. Either they've been brutalised, or they've been a victim, or they've been abused, and their abusers, or those that have done even the smallest things, they've never validated it. And that's not the whole picture. It's a small part of the picture, but it's an important part of the picture. It's not the whole picture. There's other factors too. And today I have a fantastic relationship with my children, but I certainly was not a perfect father by a long stretch. I made my fair share of mistakes, but I talk to my kids most days, even though they don't really want to hear from me because they're young and having their life and doing wild adventures. My son's in Fielden National Park climbing mountains and bolting and doing kayak guiding, and my daughter's a whitewater kayak coach, and she does rock climbing and abseiling, and they live these awesome outdoor lives, but they do really make some time to connect And I also have a third daughter too, who I don't hear much from, but that's because I was just the donor for the mother. I didn't raise her. I have some connection with her, but not much, and I love her very much too. But she never had a chance to bond because she was raised in another family. I was just the guy that gave Mum the sperm to fertilise the eggs. I was the sperm donor, but I still think of her as my daughter, and love her very much. So all these things that go on through our journey of our life and our relationships and how we stuff things up and then we get them right and then we work it out. It's not a straightforward thing that you get taught at school or even your parents teach you, because they only had their parents for teachers, and the tools that we're given when we create a family are often very limited, particularly if we came from a family that was dysfunctional. My own family, incredibly dysfunctional. How the hell I even raised a half decent family, I don't know, but I've still seen my dad today, still alive, and I've made a real effort to have a relationship with him, and I talk to my mum regularly. But no, I'm a very, very dysfunctional family, and it was hard for me to begin with. I had to work it out, and some of the mistakes I've made, I look back at my younger self and I've actually got to go, well, that was the younger me, I've evolved, and I hope that my children have been able to, for the mistakes I did make, particularly my daughter pushing it, I hope they've been able to put that in its right place by me validating I pushed you too hard with that. My daughter is definitely an overachiever, and maybe that's because I did push her hard. I don't know. I don't really know. Not sure. I mean, my son had the same dad as a daughter, and he's like pretty chill with stuff. He doesn't care whether he achieves stuff or not, so how would you know? It's hard. It's actually hard to know. Nature versus nurture. Yeah, all fun and games. Anyway, brothers, just a bit of a chin wag here in this beautiful spot. Thought I'd just have a catch up and do a Bro Check Club video because it's what it's about. Let me know if you want any more throwback stories or if you just want these general chats, because they're all easy to do. It's just so easy, just sit down and yak to you like I'm yakking to an old mate that I'm catching up with. That's how it feels, and it's no hard work or sweat, or it's just sit down and have a talk. I really would have liked to have a coffee while I was doing this, but it was too late to get a coffee. Right, I'm going to go home and run my dogs and do my chores. Right now I'm gardening like fury because it's time of the year, planting everything, and thinking what the hell I'm going to do with a whole ton of courgettes and tomatoes. I think I might make a whole lot to relish and bottle it for the winter. Yeah. Go steady, and I'll see you next Bro Check Club video. See you later. Imagine living on that island over there. There's where they come. They've got a wee amphibian. It's like a, I don't know if it's the right word. They've got a wee boat that's got wheels on, which they go across on the land and then goes up to the other side. They've got a garage on the other side they keep it in. But that's an island. I reckon it'd be bloody awesome living on an island. Hell yeah. That would be fantastic. You can fish off there too, catch snapper and kingfish and kahawai. That's their sheds over there on the other side. They keep their boats and things and cars. So they do have cars and sheds locked up. I guess if the island ever floods, that's your boat to get off, eh? See you later, brothers.